relatively, if not entirely, disastrous. It's not. Greetings, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you are here. Today, we're back in Magic the Gathering Arena, of course, and doing a little bit of nonsense as usual. Volo, Guide to Monsters, the time has come. It's been a long time coming, but it has arrived. Whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. Why are we doing this now? This card came out ages ago. Well, the sneaky little reality here is that, man, I tried to get this to work, tried to get this to work in 60 card, but it just really struggled because when you did have your Volo, it was great, but then when you didn't, it didn't work, and people just killed your Volo, and then your deck struggles with consistency issues because, of course, not sharing a creature type is a pretty strict requirement, right? You know, it's not just it's a singleton thing, but it's very specific kind of singleton thing, you know, where you can't have, you know, several different kinds of wolves. You only have, you know, you gotta have other kinds of not the same creature type. So it's strict, right? But in the most recent Alchemy set, there was a new card printed called Menagerie Curator, 2 mana, 1/3. Add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell. Whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature card in your library, draw a card. Okay, so this is exactly what we needed. Not only is it a ramp spell that will get us to Volo quicker, but it's also a way of drawing cards to find our Volos, as well as just another payoff. We don't necessarily need to have Volo if we're just drawing a bunch of extra cards, right? So both very good and giving us this opportunity to make Volo good, we are very excited about. As far as the rest of the deck, we did work pretty hard to make sure to have as few cards that share creature types as we could. Of course, there are going to be a few that share creature types because, of course, you know, Volo and Menagerie Curator, at the very least, are humans. But then we also have a little bit of Hinterland Chef. But that allows us to draft, right? So hopefully we will be able to find, you know, cards that, you know, like the insects or, you know, squirrels or whatever, that we can cast and still draw cards or, you know, copy, right? Then Agent or a Fiend allows us to get cards from the top of our opponent's deck. Then the Clone Crafter allows us to get creatures from our opponent's deck. So again, with any luck, those things will be of varying creature types as well. And then we're just, you know, yeah, playing a whole bunch of different creature types. And we are also running Settle the Wilds for a little bit of ramp. It allows us to seek up things of higher mana values. So we have a 5s, a 6, and a 7. So when we get up to those higher mana costs, we can still seek things up. But of course, Mirror Shell Crabber is here mainly as a counter spell, rather than just us trying to seek it up. But you know, it's a fine thing to cast. A 5/7 ward is still a threatening creature if it makes it to the battlefield. So you know, the rest of it, you know, just stuff. So let's see if we can get some wins with this pile. All right, folks, here we are up against Derp 8400. Good luck, Derp 8400. And yeah, I think this hand is keepable. We get to start off with Spara's headquarters. We do also have a Workshop War Chief kind of over here behind my shoulder. But we've got... we do have both the Volo and the Menagerie Curator. So yeah, this is absolutely the sort of hand we want to keep. And we're going to try and capitalize on it as best we can. 10 Street Cadet coming down for our opponent. And please no removal spell. Please. Opponent looking at our stuff. Considering. Does go what? Weathered Runestone? You don't mind if I do? Yes, please. If I could have, you know, bargained away cards in my hand or something to get our opponent to cast a spell, it would have been Weathered Runestone. So this gives us a perfect opportunity to jam the Volo Guide to Monsters. So now, folks, Not only do we have our Menagerie Curator in play, but we also have our Volo in play. Yes! Opponent going with a couple of Goblin Javelineers and a Fireblade Charger. Yes. You do all of that, Derp 8400. Thinking about doing a little attacking here. Does so. Consider blocking, but then realize, oh, crud, no. The Javelineer does damage to blockers, so that would kill our Volo, and we don't want that. So we're trying to decide how to do this. We don't want to die to Cavalcade of Calamity, so we just decide Khazad-dû Mammoth blocks really, really well, and it will allow us to double spell with the Needlethorn Drake, which also obviously blocks well for the most part, and importantly is a flyer, so it gives us a way of clocking our opponent to a certain extent as well. Admittedly, our opponent pops down Lizard Blades, which could be nasty, but then Investigator's Journal, and we weren't expecting that, but alas, we're not too put off by it. Opponent saying good game, and scooping them up. Yeah, indeed, opponent, indeed. We got you. Alright, folks, here we are up against Cutie Star. Good luck, Cutie Star. And, I mean, this hand is awkward because it's all 4-drops. But what are you going to do? You know, sometimes you put 4-drops in your deck, you draw them, and they're good. You know? The Toski draws us extra cards. The Volo is, of course, the whole reason we're building the deck, so what do you do? You know, we're going to keep it. We also, again, have our Menagerie Curator. Considering it's the only play sets in our entire deck, you know, the Menagerie Curators, the Volos, we're not overly surprised by that, but we are pleased by it. Virus Beetle. Alright, inconvenient. We decide to discard the Volo. Immediately have a little bit of remorse on that, thinking, well, maybe it was better to discard the Scent of the Wilds. Because we, you know, the Scent of the Wilds could seek us up another Volo, but if they have a removal spell and we don't get a Volo, it's like kind of worse. I don't know. Is what it is. Opponent has another discard spell. Makes us discard our Scent of the Wilds. Has an Eye Twitch as well. Oh boy, interesting. Well, we, for a second, try and figure out how to go about this. We do jam the Toski. A little bit of a non-bow with Volo as far as, you know, it dies immediately, right? But it's fine. You know, the important thing is we did get to draw a card off the Menagerie Curator, and we get our Toski down. So should the opportunity to attack present itself, we will start drawing cards, right? Cutie Star, thinking about things, goes with Meat Hook, X equals 2. I mean, that's a serious bummer, but we do keep our Menagerie Curator. That is not a serious bummer. We're pretty pleased about that. Admittedly, Clone Crafter is also a human, so, you know, all of these happen to be humans. We go with the Hinterland Chef so that we can hopefully find a card that will draw some cards, you know, a little bit of a divination here. And trying to decide how to go about this, we eventually end up going with the Mulgraf Millipede here because it's just larger, and we think the size might end up mattering. It's not going to draw us a card, though, which is kind of sad, because we do have other insects, so, you know. It happens. Necrotic Fume's going to get rid of our Hinterland Chef. That's fantastic. Thank you. Please do. Oh, hold on just a darn minute. Kura, the Boundless Sky coming on down. That is a good one, to be sure. I guess we'll crash in with the Kura. And yeah, I mean, a 7/7. Quite possible that that is exactly where we want to be, because our opponent trying to kill things with Meat Hook Massacres and whatnot. Yeah. How about a 7/7 to handle, you know? But we'll see. We'll see how they go about it. Goes with Undercity Plunder. No! Darn it. Really wanted to cast that Kura. But alas, you can't always get what you want. Looks like they're going to go to Field of Ruin. They do. You got it. That does not hurt our feelings even the least bit. Sure. I mean, you know, Island. You got it. Then, hey, all right. Elephant. Don't mind if we do. Yeah. This is just good. Draw a couple of cards. Yep. Have another powerful creature on board. Land drops to follow it up. Oh no! Come on, man. Well, darn it. We wanted to draw into creatures. Oh well. Here's what it is. We do make a land drop just because we do have 5s, 6s, and 7s, right? Admittedly, the Menagerie Curator. Ah, crud. Well, Invoke Despair. Gonna make us invoke a little Despair. Opponent's gonna gain a little life. Cost us, you know, some creatures and stuff, but whatever. Oh! Oh. Well, okay. Yeah. Good news, folks. Good news, everyone. Springleaf Avenger. Join the party. GG, cutie star. GG. We take those. We take those. Alright, folks. Architect of Ruins is our next opponent. And, you know, I mean, this is fine. We do have the Menagerie Curator to start drawing cards, so that's the most important thing. And we're also on the play, so we can't really complain much beyond that. As far as our threats, neither of them really do anything until we have a lot of mana. I mean, the Augmenter Pugilist is a 3/3, so that's nice. It'll block or something, but it's really in here because eventually we get up to 8 mana and beat down. The Topiary Stomper similarly is ramp, which is nice, but then it doesn't really do anything until we get 7 mana. So the hand is questionable, but it's fine. Drawing into the Volo and the Workshop Warchief, though, fantastic. Volo comes down, really crossing our fingers that it doesn't get removed. Well, you know, bummer. Magda gets in, makes treasure. Little sadness happens there, but whatever. We did part of the thing. Oh, wait, hold on. Aha! Our opponent is on Rakdos, not just mono red. So fine, well. Briefly debate, like, Topiary Stomper, Shigeki here, and the merits between going with that over Workshop Warchief. We eventually decide to go this direction. Oh my gosh, please let me get a land. Just because Shigeki also can give us lands and stuff off the top and make the Augmenter Pugilist and Topiary Stomper come online. And we're kind of anticipating a little bit of removal, right? If they're on black-red, it's a pretty safe bet. So given that, we thought, well, we'd rather keep the Workshop Warchief around a little bit longer. Let's see if they will point the removal at our less valuable creatures and kick the can down the road. Magda gets in. Well, we take your bait. On and thinking about it. And sacrifices. I think, yes, they do. A little bit odd because they could have sacrificed treasures later on to draw more cards. They spend 2 treasures to sacrifice the creature. It could be they were just trying to call our bluff. They didn't think we were actually going to block with Shigeki. The thing our opponent didn't know is Shigeki's just not important to us. We do not care about Shigeki, right? And I think the error they made was in believing that we did care about Shigeki. So we take we pull out All-Seeing Arbiter off the top, which is a really, really good draw. Very strong, actually. 6 mana, 5/4 flying is a little bit underwhelming stats, but don't sleep on its abilities here. We draw a card off the Menagerie Curator, which is good. But then the All-Seeing Arbiter also draws us 2, and we have to discard 1, right? So, good lord. Kind of living our best life over here. We get to deploy just several cards, lots of power and toughness. And the All-Seeing Arbiter also allows us to shrink our opponent's creatures, so their attacks become a lot less good. Oh, okay. Hold on. Dwarf? Interesting. Our opponent trying to get in. We decide the All-Seeing Arbiter is too valuable to risk here. Take our beats. Kalane. Yuck. Well, okay. Kura, very, very good draw. Springleaf Avenger, though. Also a very good draw. So we're trying to decide how to go about this. Or, I mean, a very good play. And we decide, well, let's draw some cards and then make a decision afterward. Right? Draw 2, discard a card. Good heavens. Just all of these things are fantastic. Very, very powerful things happening here. We actually kind of wanted a land drop. Did not get it. All-Seeing Arbiter gets to do a little bit of shrinking. We elect to hit that Hoarding Ogre. And then, since they don't have any interactions, we decide, yeah, well, Springleaf Avenger hitting is a pretty good thing to do as well. Just because if you're on the value train, you might as well ride it as far as it'll go. 6 damage, opponent dropping to 14. We get to return a target permanent card from our graveyard to our hand. We wanted Volo, ideally, but we can't cast even the Volo in our hand. So, you know, and we do want Volo to survive, but admittedly, I think it's also relevant that they haven't done anything that threatens our creatures yet, and we haven't seen a lot of removal spells. So, we just decide to go with the more castable Curator, or Menagerie Curator, and pass the turn. Opponent having a look-see at our board. It is becoming threatening, no question about it. We're, of course, just doing our dead level best to live the value life. Hoarding Ogre making some treasures. Magda making some treasures. We're going to block. Do you have combat tricks? No, they just die. So what is this? Is this a Goldspan Dragon post-combat? Oh, that's strange. Is it, like, just some gigantic dragon? No. Shambling Ghast. Okay. Not a thing we were particularly threatened to buy. Oh, yuck. Meadook Massacre, but darn it, our opponent goofed bad, didn't they? Oh, no. Yeah, Shambling Ghast. It makes sense now. Makes sense now. Yeah. So they do clean the board. All right. We're sad, but we did get to keep our All-Seeing Arbiter, and that makes us happy. So we're going to go with Menagerie Curator and a Volo. Trying to decide if we want to save that as a land, or use that as a land drop, or save it just to draw cards with, potentially. Or copy, or whatever, you know. Architect of Ruin. Goes another Colleen. Okay. Oh, golly. Purifying Dragon coming down as a 6/5. Well, that would be exceedingly threatening if we weren't doing some pretty nasty things here. Workshop Warchief going to come in as a Blitz. Workshop Warchief going to come in as a Blitz. And just swing in for 10 trampling damage. Folks, that's a lot. Opponent says, yeah, but it's blitzed, right? So I guess we take it. I'm sure they're not happy about it, but it is what it is. We're going to go with a Neverwinter Dryad. Make a dude. Draw a card. Make a dude. And trying to decide if we're supposed to hold on to the Spar's headquarters for cycling and, you know, whatever, but decide, no, that's silly here. That's absolutely silly. So just do the thing. Opponent going to gain a life when we sacrifice both of these Workshop Warchiefs, but we get 4/4s in compensation, which to me is a just bit of compensation. Purifying Dragon getting in. Good lord. And deciding to kill a Neverwinter Dryad. You got it. Gain another life. Up to 13. Our opponent, of course, trying to play for the win, as opposed to playing to not lose. We don't have lethal in play yet, and they're hoping maybe if they apply enough pressure, it might make things awkward on us. Well, okay, but we're the ones with 8 cards in hand, right? Our opponent is living on the top of their deck. So, this, I respect the play to be sure, but I don't expect it to work out. We're going to Kura and have a little bit of a combo here. It's legendary, so you make copies, you have to sacrifice them. But the good news here is Kura gives us a nice little consolation prize on death. In this case, it's a 7/7. In retrospect, we were supposed to play our land first, and I felt a little foolish after doing that, but it is what it is. Grazilaxx is also legendary, so our opponent getting a little bit of value on the Meathook Massacre, but not the end of the world. Kamiya Bamboo Groves, you know, whatever, man. Just put a land from our hand onto the battlefield, you know. Sure. And see what our Architect of Ruins has to say about this. Probably some not so nice words, you know, because it's a bad situation. But GG, Architect of Ruins, GG. Alright, folks, here we are up against Mixon. Good luck, Mixon. And yeah, I think this hand is kind of sweet. We have our Menagerie Curator, we have our Volo. You know, you can't really ask for much more than that, so we'll hang on, so to speak. See what our opponent elects to do. It's a Jetmir's Garden. Interesting. We are a little frightened by that, honestly. Because Jetmir's got a little bit of Naya action that's been happening in Alchemy a little bit here. Cabaret Ritual. Very strong. Wait a minute. Cleric class? What? What is happening here? I'm not sure, but we are going to try and see if we can get a Volo down. And maybe start doing a bunch of copying and all that kind of stuff, you know? Cabaret Revel shows up. Alright, so are we supposed to Beseiju Endures and disrupt their game plan? Or Volo and advance our own? Because it's the only way to do it is to use the Beseiju. We elect to advance our own game plan because there's no guarantee our opponent is going to do anything. And we know at the very least we have a good hand to take advantage of our own game plan. There's a case to be made for either one, I think. But, you know, sometimes you just got to live your own life, you know? Oh, crud. Halana Elena getting back Alley Gardener? We immediately regret all of our life decisions. Everything we've ever done in life has been a mistake. I'm going to crash in with that back Alley Gardener. We take 5. This is decidedly not ideal. We're looking for a land drop here, but then we forget. Oh, crud. We do have other spirits. So we do at least make copies because of Volo. But we do have another spirit or two in the main, so we don't actually draw cards. So we don't make our land drop there. Decidedly inconvenient. The Obsessive Collector, quite nice for, you know, getting value. Oh. Darn it, folks. This is decidedly inconvenient. Our opponent is getting to live the dream, and we are unfortunately unable to live our own dream because Mixon has just the appropriate amount of interaction. Halana and Elena, considering how to go about this, goes with counters on the Hopeful Initiate and crashes in with both of them folks. We decide that back Alley Gardener is going to be out of hand. It's actually already out of hand, honestly. So let's just tag team, kill that thing, pass the turn. Don't necessarily regret it, but boy, oh boy, did it hurt. Finally get the land. Agonizing over how to go about this. Decide what the heck. Let's start with, you know, crashing in, doing a little seeking. Obsessive Collector doing good. Gets us a Workshop War Chief, which we could blitz, but we really don't want to because it's already post-combat, you know? And we elect to go with the Agent of Rafine. You know, we thought, man, it would be great to pull a Cabaret Revels off the top of their deck or something. You know. We'll see how lucky we can get, you know? Grinning Ignis. We're not getting very lucky, folks. The Gala Greeters being out with the Grinning Ignis down means they're going to be getting treasures. Admittedly, they're delayed because they are tapped treasures. But this Grinning Ignis, real inconvenient. Oh no, Racketeer boss. Well, shoot, man. This is back to getting out of hand territory, you know? And the opponent, having a look at our board, doing some considering, doing some thinking, goes with another Grinning Ignis activation. Cabaret Revels. Yeah, it's another Racketeer boss. Grinning Ignis comes back to hand. Comes back out. Cabaret Revels. Gets a Prosperous Innkeeper for a treasure. Alright, Grinning Ignis. Sacrifices the treasure. Adds some mana. Grinning Ignis. Gets a Gala Greeters. No! Tap treasures. Halan and Elena. Finally, opponent running out of red mana. Their board has gone exceptionally wide. They get in with Racketeer boss. They get in with Hopeful Initiate. No, wait, let's not. Just the Racketeer boss. Well, fine. We trade. Make a 4/4. Folks, this is getting out of hand. How do we disrupt this? Well, I'm not entirely sure. We do decide drawing cards is a good place to start. So, boom, Needle Thorn Drake to draw a couple of cards. We do get an Otawara, which is good. But it doesn't really stop what's happening here. So, we're not overly happy about that. So we go with an Everwinter Dryad. Draw more cards. See how we feel about that. That doesn't do it. So then we go with a Swarm Shambler. Draw more cards. These don't do those things either. Up to 6 cards in hand. So we crash in with the Obsessive Collector to get our 6-drop, which is the All-Seeing Arbiter. We're happy about that. We are unhappy because we played the stinking Agent of Rafine to try and get a Cabaret Revels off the top. Elected to draw a bunch of our cards instead of activating theirs. And we could have had it. We could have had a Cabaret Revel. No. Bummer, man. Bummer. Alas, is what it is. Our opponent also has a Rabble Rousing. Mixon elects to begin rabbling a little roused. And finds a Prosperous Innkeeper off the Antique Collector's stuff. Grinning Ignis doing things as well. Heads back to hand. Gains a bunch of life. Heads back to hand again. Gets cast. Again. Cabaret Revels. Finding the 2-drop. It's another Gala Greeters. And a Rope Line Attendant. Grinning Ignis joins the party. Halana and Elena. Doing Halana and Elena-y things. Inconvenient. Racketeer Boss. Ropeline Attendant. Hopeful Initiate. Maybe? No. No. Just the one making a citizen and crashing in. Then rabble-rousing happens, and it was another Cabaret de Revels. I'm not kidding you right now. Our opponent living the absolute dream over there. And don't forget, the Racketeer Boss gets to be shuffled back in because Antique Collector put that perpetual buff on it. No! Oh, my word. Well, as with before, we decide the solution to this problem is only going to come through drawing more cards, because what we have is not enough. All-Seeing Arbiter does things, going to make us discard things. Saddle of Wilds really don't do much now. And we get to shrink a creature until our next turn, where X is the number of different card types in our bin. And so Menagerie Curator, doing a little curating. We Topiary Stomper, get the mana, crash in with Obsessive Collector. The problem is, folks, these Gala Greeters have brought our opponent's life total to unmanageable. 54 life. Obsessive Collector can't seek anything up because we have to discard a million cards. We don't have anything that expensive in our deck. All-Seeing Arbiter gets to shrink a thing. Gets to shrink a thing. Gets to shrink a thing. Gala Greeter is now significantly smaller, but of course that isn't the thing that's threatening about Gala Greeters. On out with Jetmir's Garden. Really, really inconvenient. And, well, you know, I guess Cleric class gets leveled up. Some life gain gonna get to happen here sooner or later. Yep, which means the Cleric class is going to be throwing counters around onto Hopeful Initiate, apparently. And apparently sharing the love a little bit out of the Gala Greeters as well. Cabaret Revels for a Racketeer Boss. We're feeling a little abused, folks. We're feeling a little abused right now. Cleric class, again, sharing the love. Ropeline Attendant, doing things. Yeah, we're just sitting here looking at all these beautiful cards in our hand thinking, man, we were doing something cool. Unfortunately, our opponent was also doing something really cool. And, you know, here we are. Cleric class, good lord, having really gone off here. Because don't forget, it's not just the Gala Greeters. It's the Prosperous Innkeepers over there as well. So they're really just doing everything. On my side of the board, I'm beginning to feel like a little bored. It's, you know, our opponent's turn is not likely to finish anytime soon. And darn it, they have had their, you know, cake and been eating it as well. Racketeer Boss shows up. Yep. And the Cleric class doing things. Oh, crud. Finds another Racketeer Boss. Yeah. Yeah. And finds Hopeful Initiate. Yup. Yup. And a bunch of life gain on the evasive creature. Remember, we can't block that with power 2 or less. And our opponent just says, it's time. Let's make an attack. I'm really agonizing over that last Prosperous Innkeeper, as if it's going to matter. They're at 91 life. So a little bit of life gain happens, but don't forget, rabble rousing also happens with 2 prosperous innkeepers. Yeah, folks, I was more than a little impressed here. Our opponent living their best life, and I wanted to allow them an opportunity to do all the cool things, see their life total climb. Remember, it's also climbing by 2 from the cleric class, because anytime you would gain a life, you gain that much plus 1. So the prosperous innkeeper just normally only gain you 1 life, but with cleric class they gain you 2, right? So their life total just climbing out of control. Of course, the leveled up cleric class, putting counters every time the life is gained, is just making our creatures go their creatures go ballistic. And I wanted to allow them to have their fun, because when you play a deck like this, you want to get to do your thing, and I'm sure Mixon doesn't often find opponents that are willing to allow them to do that. So we allowed it. GG Mixon, you got us. You got us. All right, folks, here we are up against Portu. Good luck, Portu. Okay, a little bit awkward, folks. We don't have either Volo nor Menagerie Curator. But the hand is fine? Vaguely. I mean, it's got a bunch of cards we can cast. Getting out of the board is good. And going like 1 drop, 1 drop, 1 drop is normally a very, very powerful thing to be up to. But we also have the option to Agent of Rafine. So instead of 1 drop, 1 drop next turn, we could just activate Agent. Okay. You know, I mean, I guess, right? This is about as awkward as I could have drawn up with this deck, but still be good, because we're not upset with this hand, right? It's fine, I guess, right? We pull a Settle the Wreckage off the top. We did not pull a Settle the Wreckage off the top. We are not cheaters, folks. This is not... Settle the Wreckage not legal in this format. We pull a Settle the Wilds off the top. And we were pretty happy about that, I think. The opportunity to ramp ourselves as well as seeking up cards is good. Opponent goes with Ropeline Attendant, though, and suddenly we are concerned. What are they up to, right? Okay. We're going to try and find out. So we go with Agent of Rafine. We get a forest, which admittedly is kind of nice. I mean, you know, we're making our land drops and stuff. That's good. But it doesn't really tell us what they're up to. So hopefully we'll see this turn. Because... Oh. I see. Hopefully this isn't more Cabaret Revels stuff. Because that was nasty. Alright, opponent gets into a heated debate with our Agent of Rafine. And I think Agent of Rafine loses. I'm not going to lie. So, opponent trying to decide if they want to attack with the Ropeline Attendant. I don't think they've got to be too afraid of haste, since we're, you know, in Simic. But, you know, a little consideration never hurt anybody. We go with Settle the Wilds, of course, looking for Volo. We find Toski. Still not too sad, though. Toski, a good way of drawing cards. With the Tenacious P, even, being able to potentially give it... a +1/+1 counter, a little tramp, a little vigilance. Those things are good, right? So we pull a Hinterland Chef off the top. Still no Menagerie Curator. Still no Volo. A little sad about that. Trying to plan out the turn. Thinking about the Topiary Stomper, Neverwinter Dryad stuff and everything. But, you know, what the heck. You've got Tenacious Pup, Toski, Bearer of Secrets. Just do it. Don't overthink this, right? Giving Toski Vigilance is very, very strong. It's an indestructible blocker. Right? Does it ever draw us cards? Do we ever crash in hard enough to make our opponent let it through? Maybe. Maybe not. But it still blocks, you know? And since we're afraid our opponent is going to be beating down, they did come up with a Celebrity Fencer, which implies beatdowns. Just having more blockers until we figure out what's going on seems pretty okay. Opponent decides to go with Witty Roastmaster, so we're thinking they're going really wide. And... we get in. Opponent with the Celebrity Fencer, with the Witty Roastmaster. doesn't want to risk us having a combat trick. Understandable. But does let us draw a card. That is good news, folks. We get an Otawara, which is interesting. Not sure on that. Like, how do we feel about that? I think we feel good. Okay, we get a snake. All right, sign me up. I think we feel good about that because it's interaction, just in case that Celebrity Fencer gets out of line, you know? But we don't really have the mana for it right now. So, you know, whatever. Opponent. Going with Brazen Upstart. And that was where the Rope Line Attendant's perpetual ability went. Aha. Well, inconvenient. We did make land drops and all that kind of thing, so Topiary Stomper is able to attack and block now. Fine. Ooh, Unlucky Witness. Our opponent is going wide, folks. And Celebrity Fencer getting large, trying to be in charge here, I think. Well, Lair of the Hydra was not what we were looking for. Drawing a lot of lands here, folks. Drawing a lot of lands. Admittedly, one of them came from their deck. Is what it is. And then we did seek up 2 different lands. One with Settle, one with Topiary Stomper, you know. Thinking about it, and just decide, you know what? Let's put them on the defensive. Let's try and not let them get set up. The Otawara is really, really good interaction here, given the state of what we expect to see. We're kind of expecting the Celebrity Fencer to jump in front of the Topiary Stomper, or the Hinterland Chief. Chef. Wait, what? Oh my goodness, this is great. Our opponent thinking, just in case we have any kind of like combat tricky stuff, doesn't want us to draw cards, so they go the safe route and put Celebrity Fencer in front of Toski. But the interaction they didn't play around was Otawara, so we get to draw a card anyway. We trade off a whole bunch of really good things. Yeah, we give up our Tenacious P, but it's just a 1-2. We really don't care. And we get to draw a little card action. Brazen Upstart, kind of annoying. And the Unlucky Witness, a little bit annoying. But, you know. If we get to deck cool cards, our opponent should get to deck cool cards as well. We go with Obsessive Collector and Lair of the Hydra. Just because the Obsessive Collector allows us to seek up cards, which is nice. Also, very importantly, allows us to get aggressive, you know, get in at our opponent, right? Oh, no! The Demon Bolt, though, is that going to get us? Maybe. It would take their whole turn, though. So, we're kind of okay with that, honestly. We wanted to lay the Celebrity Fencer as often as as long as possible here. And the Join the Dance, you know, with the Celebrity Fencer out, with the Witty Rope Master out, would be pretty nasty as well. So I think this is fine. We're not happy about it, but it's fine, right? Our attacks still look reasonably good. Hey, Menagerie Curator is good. And our attacks look reasonably good here, too. Our opponent could trade off the Rope Line Attendant and 1/1 to get rid of the Hinterland Chef. But the Toski, likely to get a little bit of damage in here. So they're trying to minimize the number of cards we've drawn. We have drawn a lot of cards already. We're on 5 cards with a whole mess of lands. They've only got 3 cards. And even fewer lands. So, you know, they're saying, you know, we need to minimize the amount of card advantage our opponent gets. Respectable. Denies all our card draw. Just down to the Witty Roastmaster, though. What they don't know is we pulled our most important Menagerie Curator off the top. And the Moss Viper doesn't do what we need it to do because we have a Lotus Cobra in the deck. So that's a snake. Moss Viper doesn't draw us a card. But the Neverwinter Dryad does. So we put these creatures into play, and now we have 5 cards on the battlefield, right? They've got to go wide enough to stop our card draw again next turn, right? Well, the Death Touch on the Moss Viper also going to be kind of nice here. Our opponent's got a lot of really valuable creatures over there. Not the least of which, Celebrity Fencer showing up right now. Probably going to try and grow it with Prosperous Innkeeper and valuing the counter on the Celebrity Fencer more than the life gain from Prosperous Innkeeper. I think that is a reasonable take on the current situation. Witty Roastmaster knocking us all the way down to 12. We are starting to notice our life total dwindling, you know? But does not make any attacks. We're unsurprised. Oh, now you show up. Stinking Volo. A little disappointed by that, but that's okay. So, Lair of the Hydra, going to come alive for X equals 8. Why X equals 8, you might ask? Because we think, well, you know, our opponent's only got 3 cards. At the very least, this is going to draw us 2 cards, because we know we're getting in with 2 creatures. And the Lair of the Hydra kind of must be blocked. That's a lot of damage if that's one of the 2 creatures you allow through. So, just refilling our hand while we have the opportunity, just in case they do have more like, whatever that card is called, Invited to Dance, or Just Dance, or, you know, Dancing in the Moonlight, or, you know, Dancing with Your Mom, or whatever the heck that card is called. It makes a lot of creatures. The Witty Roastmaster would deal a nice little chunk of damage. The Celebrity Fencer would grow up. But boy, oh boy, we are shocked to find our opponent does not lose the Prosperous Innkeeper. They just take it all, and including some of the damage from that Lair of the Hydra. We are a little bit blown away by that. Having held back the Menagerie Curator and the land drop, we are able to deploy a Clone Crafter, and we find an Unlucky Witness. That, being a human citizen, unlikely to do much of the card drawing or copying or anything, but it is a powerful card, and it, you know, it's inexpensive, so we'll be able to deploy it with alacrity. Pour to you on 4 life. Lair of the Hydra's still here. Still awkward, right? Oh boy, Minsk, beloved Ranger, coming on down, does have the make a 1/1 thing going on. Ay. Well, Witty Roastmaster, taxing our life total in earnest. And sitting here, looking at our hand, considering how to go about these things, trying to decide if our opponent can be aggressive, and how that would impact us if they did. You know, what if they just get in with everything? Well, I think they die if they do. So they're unlikely to do that. So, what about, the strategy going on here in our mind? What about if our opponent holds everything back? Do we have any profitable attacks? Because even the Lair of the Hydra, not overpoweringly large anymore because of the Celebrity Fencer. So now we're thinking, all right, we have plenty of action here in the bin. What if we Shigeki? And I think that could put our opponent in a relatively awkward situation. So thinking about it, yep, that is what we're going to do. X equals 2. What 2 cards do we get, folks? Well, it might seem a little odd because the Otawara was very, very tempting there. Get rid of the Celebrity Fencer and stuff. But Tenacious P draws the card. More importantly, 1/1 counters and vigilance on a flyer. It also, folks, gained us a life. That is not to be scoffed at, right? Just that little bit of life gain can really, really matter in the long term. Now, we are forced to attack with the Toski. We don't care because Tenacious P has done us a very good service by giving it vigilance. Again, the fact that it just stonewalls their largest creatures is really, really good here, Opponent finally, now that we're tapped out, saying you can't possibly have a combat trick. We'll block here with the Celebrity Fencer. Opponent takes card for the turn. Lots of mana to work with. And a relatively wide board. Our life total, not that high. Card like rabble-rousing, that sort of thing, could be relatively, if not entirely, disastrous. It's not. It's a land. Or they had a land. Maybe they were sandbagging a land. Also pretty likely. Trying to decide how to go about this. They need to get wider on the board, though. Well, all right, Brazen Upstart. That's a good place to begin. Celebrity Fencer grows, gains a little life, and now we've got to interact on, or you know, now they've matched us on board presence, so they can block every single creature we've got. On the whole, their creatures are much larger than ours. So that's not too much of a problem. The biggest problem they're witnessing right now is the Obsessive Collector with Trample and Vigilance. That is terrifying. For them, at least, right? The Obsessive Collector also ready to go and get us cards out of our library. We always like that. So we're going to start on All-Seeing Arbiter, though, to draw some cards. Forceful Cultivator, a good one. We need a discard. You're never going to believe this, folks, but I don't think we're going to need the extra land. Going to get to shrink a creature. Going to choose the Brazen Upstart. And that really does change combat quite a bit. Because our opponent's attacks are questionable at best now. You know, the Moss Viper getting to eat the Celebrity Fencer, the Toski getting to do whatever. Like, they've got to kill us with Witty Roastmaster. They have no cards in hand, right? So we crash in, 5 cards in hand. Yep, Obsessive Collector, want that trigger to go on first because we don't have any 6-drops left. It's a Springleaf Avenger. We knew that was going to be the case. So we elect to slam down a Volo and then shred leisurely. Draw a card. And pop down a land and an Unlucky Witness. All right. Well, Portiu, can you handle 12 power worth of flyers across 4 separate bodies? Likely to, of course, have the ability to shred leisurely, you know, and grow them as well. Portiu going over all of the different options, trying to formulate a plan, says, you know, I just don't think we can, you know, beat the Flyers. So they're hoping we make mistakes on blocks. I really don't think we can screw up the blocks here. But we decided we will take our time and be careful with it, just to make sure, and not risk our Flyers. We take no damage. We're not interested in taking damage, not even the least bit. But we don't want to endanger our Obsessive Collector or All-Seeing Arbiter. They are both individually lethal. But we also didn't want our opponent to maybe have some kind of burn spell. Yeah. And they scoop him up. So GG, Portiu. GG. Alright, folks. Here we are up against Tyranthraxus. Tyranthraxus. Ty was trying to escape something. We don't know what it was. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Ty, I hope you get away. We're going to start on a Lair of the Hydra. Keep a little bit of a weird hand where we don't do anything for, 35 turns. Turns out our opponent has Dread Fugue. So it doesn't matter. They look at our hand. They can only take a mana value 2 or less card. And we, very astutely, having known Dread Fugue was on the way, played around that by having no 1 or 2 drops. You know. Whatever. So they look at our hand, but don't take anything. We slam a Barkchannel Pathway and settle the wilds to grab a Volo. No regrets, folks. Living our best life. Volo trying to make it to the battlefield. Desperate Farmer comes down for our opponent. A little life-linking creature that ends up flipping over. We decide to settle the wilds to get a 5-drop. It is the Workshop War Chief. We're not too upset by that. Menagerie Curator going to join the party. It is both ramp and card draw and a blocker as well, should we decide we want to get in front of that Desperate Farmer. Though, admittedly, I don't think we would bother. It might, like, yeah, prevent our opponent from attacking. It turns out they do cast the Savage. If they had done it pre-combat, we would have taken the damage. If they would have attacked and then cast Savage Gorter, we would have taken the damage. So they kind of goofed there. But, boom, slam a Volo, slam a Khazad-dû Mammoth, draw cards, copy Khazad-dû Mammoths, feeling good in the proverbial neighborhood. Opponent slams a Westgate Regent. Wouldn't describe ourselves as pleased about that necessarily, but it is what it is. Trying to make the most of the current situation, elect to Obsessive Collector. Volo get copies. We don't draw cards, though, because there are more spirits in the library. Augmenter Pugilist, making extra 3/3 tramples. Those will grow, and soon. But our opponent having that Westgate Regent does make us a little bit concerned. So I think the Obsessive Collectors were a requirement that hand. So we really had, or that turn. So we really had to kind of play based on that situation. Our opponent says, I don't like your Volo, and kills it. Understandable. We briefly debate double blocking just to make sure the Westgate Regent dies, but decide that's probably a little bit paranoid. And sure enough, our opponent gives it indestructible. And boy, oh boy, are we glad that our paranoia didn't overtake us, because we would have been punished heartily. Khazad-dû Mammoth grows with a land drop. Settle the Wilds gets another land. Khazad-dû Mammoths grow more. Augmenter Pugilists now 8/8s, and we say, you know, I'm not great at math, but you're at 22. How about we make this a real fight? Opponent gets in front of the Menagerie Curator, gets in front of a Khazad-dû Mammoth, and math says, you did. GG, Tyrathixus, GG. All right, folks, we are back, and yeah, we had a blast. It was great. Would I take this deck into the ranked queue? Honestly, maybe. It was very good. Little inconsistent, and it was more susceptible to removal, so I think it is better suited for a play queue sort of situation. But we had a very positive win rate. We did the deck played very, very well, and maybe we just got lucky with some of our matchups, but honestly, the deck crushed it. Really can't complain. As far as things we might change, well, there is going to be a correct kind of balance of creature types and things like that, because we don't have to have both Volo and Menagerie Curator online. Volo cares about creature types, creatures we control, creatures in our graveyard, right? Menagerie Curator cares about creatures, spells that don't share a creature card or creature type with cards in our library, right? So even if we draw, like, let's say we have, let's go with Spirit, right? We have a couple of different spirits, not a lot, but a couple. Dragon Spirit, Spirit, right? If we draw them and they're in our hand, and then we start casting them, we get the draw, right? So also true if they're already in play. If we have Obsessive Collector and Kura down and we draw the Kami, we draw, right? Because it only cares about the cards that are in our library, right? Similarly, Volo doesn't care about what's in our library. So it's okay to have a few repeats, but we don't want all repeats, right? I think we probably wanted the other Spirit Dragon, because when Volo makes copies of the Spirit Dragon, it's sick because you get the on-death trigger immediately, and the blue one would have been awesome. So I think that belongs here. Then, like, the other legendaries are questionable. I'm not sure, because they work well with Menagerie Curator, but not necessarily with Volo. Toski, I think, was too good because of what we're trying to accomplish. We're getting lots of value. We're making lots of creatures, going really wide. I think Toski belongs either way. The Grazilaxx, I don't know. Maybe not. I had planned it as a way to get more, you know, kind of have a second Toski, but we really don't want to be, you know, like returning our creatures to our hand as much. So I don't know. Maybe this could go. Maybe. Maybe the Clone Crafter could go. We've got to figure out the other, you know, the creature types being the concern is difficult. So we have crabs. We have Rhino Warrior, importantly, right? Like, there were other warriors that could have gone in here, but we ended up with just the Workshop War Chief, right? Avatar, not too hard to avoid, but like Shaman, you know? In order to get the Forceful Cultivator in here, we had to have just the one Shaman, or, you know, we wanted very few. So it's there is going to be a better balance of creatures, almost certainly, than the ones I have here. So I would love to see what the direction you folks go with it, right? And so definitely let me know if you come up with maybe a couple of better inclusions that we could replace maybe the Grazilaxx or whatever with. But would I encourage you to build this deck? Absolutely. No, man. Oh my gosh. If nothing else, even if you're like a mythic grinder, like, oh, I got to mythic and I am in the top, whatever, 400 or something. So I don't want to play ranked. I want to play in the play queue. Don't bring your mythic grindy deck down here. No, 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 no. Bring this deck. It was so much fun to pilot. Highly encourage you to try this stuff out because it was honestly a blast. And for the record, at least for me, even with a build that I'm pretty sure could be marginally improved with maybe a little crowdsourcing of you folks, it did really well. Again, I recognize maybe I just got a little bit lucky, but the sample size was relatively large as well. So darn it, you should play this deck. I think it's great. And definitely help me continue to refine it. But I would say if you folks enjoyed this video, please subscribe. It really, really helps the channel. I'm not even monetized yet. I can't. YouTube puts ads on my video, and YouTube takes it all. They don't even give me a cut or anything. So it would be really great if you would drop a sub and really help the channel out. Similarly, I am a Twitch streamer. I would say my main platform is over there on Twitch. So if you wanted to come over there by the same name, John Likes Games, you'll find me over there. So thank you all for watching, and I will catch you next time.